Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. I hope everyone is doing good. I told myself that, and I said in my very last video after you heard what happened to me, that I wasn't going to make a video for a number of days anyways. I made, you know what, before I even did that, before that happened to me, I decided I wasn't going to make a video for at least 5 days. So that's just coincidental. And but to be honest, as I'm always honest, I couldn't have made a video. And to be honest, even further, I didn't know if I'd ever make a video again because of what's happened to me. And that's what I'd like to talk about today and try to fit some lessons in this, I guess. I don't care, like, this person I'm trying to press charges against, whatever, I'll say that on video, that's okay. My last video I explained what happened. My story will never be different. So if anyone who's been through violence, who's been in domestic violence, I don't care if you're a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. If you put up with that type of stuff, if you know what it's like to be hit and be in a fight, all that type of stuff, assault just simply means that someone has to be yelling at you and bearing down on you against what you want. That's assault. And I'm sure there's many other definitions. Battery. So there's a difference. Battery is when they hit you. Assault is they could be in your face, pointing in your face, and you don't feel like you can really do anything or don't want to do anything. I'm going to make many different points here. Well, I don't know how. There's a lot I have to think about in this, believe me. And I hope this does help somebody. Okay, so first of all, I'm developing PTSD, and I do believe it's getting better from the original. At first, I couldn't sleep, and no matter what I did, you'll like this lesson in a second. No matter what I did, no matter what I tried to do, it was not flashback, okay? But I've had flashbacks of this, yes. I've had quite a few. And every time I get it, I get really angry. That, let's say what I'm working out, let's say I'm eating, let's say I'm working on my computer, let's say I'm going out, doing whatever, going for a walk, getting my groceries, medications, whatever it is, it's foremost on my mind. I've been left, it's been getting better, in a state of dissociation. I've been through that all my life. I have, as well as autism, I have CPTSD, of which I only recognized this year. I knew it was probably a bit before this year. I'm the type of person who always looks over his shoulder because I've been through a lot of things in my life. And if you want to see what those are, you can go back to I Shouldn't Be Alive, Part 1. Just look that up and I link all the rest of there's 4 parts. This isn't my first time going through something like this, but it is my first time experiencing something like this. And by the way, it was for doing something good. Since my spine has been like this, and my neck, I have a lot of damage in my body. And so I had to think very carefully about what I was going to do. I don't want to pretend I was tough. I just went through it. I'm tough, man. No. I do know how to fight. I've been in fights in my life not because I wanted to. I know how to wrestle. I know some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know quite a few of those moves. I also know how to fight on my feet. It's not easy to take me down. So if I had to really use it, I can use it. And so I'll get back into that in a second. There's a lot of anger that went with this, and I'm trying to think what I was just gonna say. I don't think I even remember. There's a lot of anger, man. You know, what could I have done differently is what I've been thinking. And to tell you the truth, so this person has not been charged yet. They live quite close to me. So imagine this. Every single day I have to go through the same area. They could be there. They live right by there. Am I supposed to stop going through there? I'm disabled, so I'm a lot less disabled than I was. Yeah, this is what I was going to say. This wasn't what I was going to say, but I'm thinking of another thing. It's totally pertinent to what happened to me. Do you understand that the things that I have been through, that only 2.5 years ago, I was still using a cane. I was couch and bed dependent for 10 years, almost 10 years, more like 9. I built myself up through God, but of course it was myself. I pushed myself forward, but through God. I had to repair a brachial plexus injury, a completely torn neck that both of them never healed. So I have severe damage in there. I'm not going to go over all my body systems because there's a lot more, but I have inflammation in my spine. It's not active, but it's partially active, but I have progressive scar tissue in my spine. It's called spinal adhesive arachnoiditis. Guys, I was speaking to my neighbor yesterday, and he testified about me because I went to talk to him, because I came to him right after it happened because I saw him. And he said to another guy who happened to be there, do you know this guy was literally inching along? Inching. I would move like 10 or 50 feet and punch my legs. It hurt so much. It took me a lot to get to this point. I healed emotionally and physically as much as I could physically, and it was a very hard road. It was a hard road to get my diagnosis. 13 and 18 years I waited for them, and I put up with a lot of psychological torment. I've been through a lot of psychological events in my life, but I felt healed by God. That's where I was. Throughout my day, I pray unceasingly, right? Always thinking, never have my mind off that. For this to happen, I was damaged by Moderna, probably myocarditis, that's another argument. Developed a rare gallbladder disorder. It was like 1 in 300,000 left with a permanent gallbladder disorder, like a gallstone. Intussusception, how about that? My bowel almost died on me with the stomach flu. That was only just last summer. Things hit me over and over and over again. So I get through them. I'm finally in this good place. I'm developing different websites. I have 2 websites. I love creating. Like, this is great. And then all of a sudden, this son of a bitch, does this for doing good. And then all of a sudden, I feel like this could be ripped away from me. All of a sudden, like I was starting to feel like numb, And the thing is, I'm not afraid of this person. I didn't expect what happened. And you know what, I found myself going out in my other walks hoping that I would come across him. I'm sorry, but that's how I felt. That's wrong. Why would someone do that? And I want this person to know exactly what I'm dealing with, and like in an impact statement. I don't know what's going to go on with that, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to try to make some important lessons in this. Just give me a second. If my phone goes and it's important, I will come back. So how would you feel if you were on top of all the things that I just said? Guys, I was this close from going to medical assistance and dying, because that's normal with the spinal adhesive arachnoiditis, and that's far from my only condition. I have 12 different conditions, which are all pain, less my autism and mental health disorders. You're on top of them, and all of a sudden this type of person does this. And so just quickly, I'll just recap why. I saw a child go by him. He was standing in the lip of the tunnel, inside the tunnel. It's illegal to smoke weed in the tunnel. This guy could be smoking crack, methamphetamines. I don't want that stuff in my face, and I don't want it in a child's face. So I got halfway through the tunnel. They were already on their bikes. I can't remember that part of watching them go on, because it wasn't important to me. I turned around, got about 20 feet away from the guy, and I said, "Hey, do you know you're not allowed to do this in here?" That's all it took for him to come up and assault, which is bear down on me. That lasted for a long time. It wasn't just a quick assault, okay? It was a long time, and that's why it's different. And it was battery, and I would have fought him if he started moving his hands on me. I don't know why I let him do what he did. I'm not going to tell what that is. I already said in my other. I really hope to hit a chord with somebody that suffers with PTSD and you can probably see it in my eyes, with PTSD and with CPTSD. There's no difference in them except, in the way of you had a traumatic experience, but they are different. You start developing shame and all that. I'm not developing shame from this, because I understand it. I was, one of the first things I'm like, man, do not take this, and this is what I have, don't take the spirit from me. Don't let me go numb. So in the first 2 days, I'm like, man, I don't even I can't even follow the verses. I almost don't even care. I cared, but I know this is almost worthless right now. But God was always on my mind. And so I wondered, anyways, guys, I have been developing PTSD symptoms, and I think they are getting better. I have talked to people. By the way, if anyone develops PTSD from an incident, if you don't want to go through a lifetime of that, contact someone right away. Talk to people right away, because you get at it right away. Because if you don't, you'll log that in your memory, and it will stay there. The point is trying to not make it stay in your long-term memory. I called immediately to a counselor, and they happened to be in this big study. It was a McGill study, a counselor. I had an hour session, and it was the most effective one in the entire world. Go figure. Remember when the trains were sabotaged in France in 2013? They were the ones who went in and treated all those people. And so there's a special treatment that works with propanolol, a non-addictive drug. Anyways, I may go into that, but I almost feel like I'm not going to need that. I don't want to put any drugs in my system, but the Spirit of God has come back, or I couldn't speak this way. I don't know how I'm going to turn out, but I just, consumes your thoughts. You get really irritable, angry, dissociated. I've had some panic attacks. At the first, you know what happened? I couldn't breathe. For the first 3 days, I was shallow breathing. And when you get those things, don't worry. Just admit it to people. Just say, this is what I'm going through. Because it's just stupid not to tell people. So I'm going to get into the last thing you ever want, ever, if you're born again, meaning you have faith in Christ, is to, like David said, what did King David say? King Saul was so disobedient and jealous of David that eventually he took his spirit. Off and on, the spirit would come, the spirit would go, and then God removed it. And so I think it was when Nathan the prophet said something to David about Uriah, and about having him on the front line and indirectly killed, and also going into Bathsheba, right? But I think it was more about Uriah. Remember, he wrote a psalm. The first verses I started to go through, I don't usually read the Psalms, okay? But I did this time. And I'll tell you which ones I read and were very good for what I was going through. So if you have PTSD, you're going through bad times, CPTSD, you have trauma, read. I said, God, just give me any psalm. And 39 came up. And like 39 to 45 was where I had to be. Go read them all and you'll see why. After knowing the gift of God, the last thing you ever want is that spirit. Not that a traumatic experience is the reason why your spirit would be taken from you. But you don't want that to happen. Listen, I'm gonna talk about this, and this is something I said, and one of you commented, and I'm not trying to point you out, okay? I'm just trying to reply. That am I bitter about the verses? No, I'm not. I'll tell you why. No weapon against thee shall prosper. I should probably research it very quickly, but most Bible students don't even understand that the Gospels were for the Jews. They're for all of us, but they were promises for the Jews. If you don't understand like these dispensation type things, that they weren't, the apostles weren't even teaching the Gentiles. They weren't saving the Gentiles until 51 AD. When Paul had his revelation, he went out and teaching, did all that stuff. There became a big dissension. Him and Barnabas had to go back to Jerusalem, to the council of 51 AD, because of Paul's gospel. They didn't know what Paul's gospel was. But when so at one point in the Bible, and that was a long period. Think of when Paul, I can't give the year that Paul received. So don't ever be confused. Paul had revelation from Jesus Christ on the road to Damascus. That was your and my Gentiles' gospel. The church began with that. But any Jew, so just keep listening to me. I've read the theologies. I have a video. You have to go back and read it. Go to doctrine.org and you'll look at all the different. If you don't understand these things, you're lost. And it will feed into what I'm going to say. No weapon against you shall prosper. Paul had a different gospel, and in 51 of the council, he was telling them about this, and it was an argument. It was an argument about what the Gentiles should and shouldn't do, circumcision, all that type of stuff. And Peter stood up and said, "They are clean." I had that vision of the blanket coming down. Cornelius and so all of a sudden, in that very moment, the faith through grace alone superseded what they were doing. Any Jew would be saved the way the Gentile was. Wow, what a turn of events. I bet most people listening to this didn't know that. They don't understand what these dispensations are, what the promises are, the covenants, what they mean, who they were for. And so people misuse things that were really meant for the Jews. And to be honest, I still have to look into no weapon against you shall prosper. I'm not sure if it was just for the Jews. I have to look at the whole context of it. But don't you think that's important to know the context? People get a verse and they run with it. It's stupid. And I'm sorry, that's not what happened in my case. The weapon was formed. So you want to tell me how I've heard of 2 preachers in the last year who have been shot in the head. Are you going to tell me, they just weren't saved? I am saved. I pray night and day. I pray for people. I do these videos, both for me and for you, but for God. I read the scriptures. I study the scriptures. I am saved because I believe, not because of anything I've done. The weapon was formed and it prospered. But did it prosper fully? Well, I'm going to charge this guy, and it's right to. And you're going to say, should a Christian charge? Well, I already read over that. And the only time that you are not supposed to is if it's a small matter. That's what Paul says, if it's a small matter, but inside the church, Christian to Christian. I was brutally attacked by a vicious man. So try being me for a second and listen to that verse. But did it prosper? Did it prosper, or is it working out for the better? I'm starting to think it is working out for the better. I'm going to have to investigate that. No, I'm not bitter about it. Any bitterness that you may think I have is based on, I'm telling you, most YouTubers. But they haven't been attacked. Maybe they have. But they use it and they use it and they use it until it happens to them. To be honest, I'm going to have to go look at it. Just give me a sec, guys. I was the type of person that I remember I was attacked. Guys, I've been attacked many times in my life. I was beaten unconscious on the ground by 13 men, sucker punched and then beaten on the ground. Lost my teeth. Broke my nose. I've broken my nose a few times. Things I never did. Jealous women who sent men after me. I remember that one time my friend was in a fight. I was in a bad space. It was like a hotel party. It was a hotel party. And I had no idea why my friend was fighting with another guy, but when I went to try to get by, maybe a friend of the guy who was fighting my friend, he decided to jump me for no reason. I'm telling you, the guy was probably at least a half times thicker than me, and maybe, I don't know, a few inches shorter. I'm about 5'10" and a half or something like that, and he was big, but I still got on top of him right away. And you know what? When I was on top of him, I didn't have the heart to hit him, but he hit me. I don't like violence in any capacity, and I can't wait till it's gone off of this earth. We don't have to think about these things, nothing. Now I have to go through the same way, same shopping place as this person. Anyways, I think you get my point. Guys, I do believe I'm getting better, and you know what? I'm asking for you to pray for me. And I pray for people who are hurting out there, because it's not nice. This is important, and I think you'll understand. When you're hurt like this, like I said, like things go numb. All of a sudden the Bible doesn't look the same way to me. Like I can't, because of my mental state. My life is stopped, it's disrupted, it's halted, my life is halted. And it made me wonder, King David was in so many troubles. He was by himself, virtually, guys. Except for God. And you wonder, like, the times where King David, God says, I'll make a covenant with you, and he says, God, should I attack this? Will I prosper? He says, yes. He went through so many betrayals and so many of these types of things. And I understood. I feel like King David. I'm not King David, but I understand the types of things. Betrayals. Just going through horrible stuff. You can read it in the Psalms, man. The Psalms is a mental. People say you could probably diagnose things in the DSM and Psalms. Psalms aren't all David, but don't take your spirit away from me. But this one. When you end up, say you're abused, or you're abused repeatedly, which is even worse, it differs from person to person how they react. But do you ever wonder if David was also traumatized? And you wonder, why didn't, when he was in trouble, speak to God every time? And I understood that maybe to get better, all we have to do is ask for help and keep asking for help, even if we feel numb, even if we feel those things. And I think that's important. And I was worried that I wouldn't feel the Spirit again the same way I was. I was on the top of the world, man. I just developed a new website for my spinal disease, like an interactive website, And then this happened. I was just about to go for my license. Well, you know, like a graduated license. I studied for like a month. And so, excuse me another sec. I want to say this, that if you get in an event like I did, and you see, what I was waiting for was the guy to start moving his hands. I was staring at his eyes. Guys, you have the right to fight back with reasonable force. Our laws are horrible in Canada. They're bad. They're not like the States. In the States, you can do more. But I think the way the world is, with when things are happening in the world right now, they'll probably charge you. Don't worry, you do have that. And in that attack, the first two things that came to my mind, and it was the first time I've been in this since my spine and neck and everything like this, so it was different, was I'm a Christian. They came simultaneously. I'm a Christian and I have to protect my spine. I was so worried about my spine because I could have ended up paralyzed if my adhesions in my spine were all ripped. So keep calling on God if you're in that kind of trouble. And this, I wonder, here is where things split. I do some narcissistic videos because I was affected by a narcissist. Not once in my life, but twice or maybe even 3 times. You know, by pure NPD, real. And I wonder, and you wonder why people turn out a certain way. And I'm not trying to point out anything. You know what? If anything, people who have NPD, I pray for. I feel sorry for the things I went through. But that's no ticket to hit people, to emotionally blackmail, emotional manipulation. No way in hell, man. There's a difference. When you're... So if I count this time of being battered and assaulted, I've been hit many times in my life. Many. Why did I turn out towards God and a born-again Christian and not turn the other way and say, screw it, man. I'm for myself. I'm never letting anyone do this again. There's a split there. And you might say, well, it could be the age. And that's true. But it doesn't have to be. It can be when you're 10. It can be when you're all the way up to 20. I'm hoping that you catch this and understand that you got to turn towards the good and not the bad. I told you, you know, when I go out, I think, you know, I hope I run into this guy by mistake. And I can't control that. I don't want that. So you have to ask yourself, what is the difference? So there is a decision that is made. There is a decision that's made because willingly a person with NPD or whatever it is, borderline, to never be hurt again, they're going to hurt other people. There is a split there. And I hope you see this video and understand not to go that way. Don't take the wrong way. And I am the perfect person to say it because I've been through all these things. I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm going to leave you a video, guys, and a link at the end. You've probably seen this. It's a video of a priest. He's 87 years old. And this is from a number of years ago, I think. But anyways, it's amazing. Surely he would have been killed at this age if he would have been swiped from the side. At the last second, the vehicle that was coming at him, I think it's through a grass field, hits a post. Like the priest is going this way, and a big SUV is coming this way, and it hits just like a no park post, just a small post, and the SUV goes up the post and over. I'm going to leave that in the description box. If I don't, I'll remember later. Give me a break for my voice. I'll tell you something. I'm not going to say who did and who didn't, and I don't expect it either. Like, I live alone. I'm mostly to myself because of my pain conditions. I like to be on my own. Probably like you guys like to do that too. And because of some Christian values. I think you understand what I'm saying. So this happened, and I can't remember one person asking me if I was okay. People I barely knew did. They did. But direct. That's all I'm going to say. And so this is very important here. So it says in Matthew 24, the love will grow cold because lawlessness will increase. Right? What just happened to me is the very reason why people will turn cold. Because violence is everywhere. And you're wondering, is this happening now? Yes, it is. If you happen to live in a democratic city, if you happen to live where all Muslims are in Europe and in the West, the West, you'll understand that it's over. I'm not going to give a date. I'm not going to give any of those types of things. It's over, man. We're so close. So close. And that's another reason why I felt real angry about what had happened to me. I said I wanted to see it and feeling more lucid. Like, I'm used to taking the pain that I suffer with, but I mean mentally. And I will. That lawlessness is in all those democratic cities. It looks horrendous. And people are questioning if this is the end times. I believe it's a judgment from God. It is on the West for many different reasons that none of us will completely know. I'm going to have a video coming up. I'm just going to talk it out like I'm doing here. It's quite long. It'll probably be two parts. Maybe it'll be one part. But I got asked a question, I think on the day that this happened to me, and I did a video. Someone challenged me to reason why these are the end times. And so I've done it very intricately, and I'm almost done it. I may have it by tomorrow. So, and if people don't recognize these things, that's up to them. The times and the seasons. I think that's just about all I have to say, unless I wrote something else. That's it. Quite honestly, in like the first, second, third day, guys, I couldn't breathe. I'm like, what the hell's happening? Like, I can't catch my breath. and I knew I was developing PTSD. I knew I was. You know, they say it can't be diagnosed until a month, and that probably is true to make sure that it's persistent. But I know I can feel it developing, and so I say the message to you that don't let your love grow cold. Let some time pass by. Talk to people. Call the crisis line. I called the crisis line. Called the crisis line. I got a counselor. I have a doctor's appointment today about this. And the people who are really weak and make fun of you for doing such things are the people who don't understand what it is to get better at everything through Jesus Christ. That's what I have to say today, guys. And this is what I'll say to finish this off. Be very careful with no weapon against thee shall prosper, because the weapon was formed and the weapon was delivered. And I didn't instigate anything. I was trying to do good, and it was right by the law. Hey, if you want to smoke weed, that's fine. Don't do it in an enclosed space where that's smoke that I have to, you say, cover your face. Sometimes you come up so quick, you're right up against it. 2 weeks ago, I got caught in marijuana smoke right in someone's thick cloud. I didn't know they were smoking. I have autism. I have a very hypersensitive nervous system. I was high for 4 hours. So you think that kind of stuff makes me angry? Of course it does. I approached the guy kindly too. So anyways, that's what I have to say. God bless you guys, and I pray for anyone who's going through something similar. And the best way to get better after such stuff is be honest with yourself, speak the truth. I'm not saying you have to spill your guts to about everything, but I want to make sure I'm that type of person. And I don't want to feel forced to make a video, but I don't want to stop making Christian videos. But I thought it might. I thought it might stop. And if I appear not the same to you guys, that's my business, right? And I hope you keep watching. So, God bless.